Kambia, the largest town in Sierra Leone's northwestern province, is a historic trading hub linking the country to the Republic of Guinea. Situated approximately 120 miles northeast of Freetown, the town occupies a strategic position along the highway linking Sierra Leone's capital to Conakry. According to the 2004 national census, Kambia had a population of 11,442, a figure estimated to have risen to over 12,000 by 2010. For generations, the town has served as a bustling gateway for commerce, culture, and cross-border interaction. Today, as Sierra Leone continues its constitutional review process through the proposed constitutional amendment bill, many residents of Kambia say their voices remain largely unheard.
First of all, I would need for say the government really know they treat the people of Salone well, because when they say constitution, I believe say now we right we as Sierra Leoneans, anything we need for happen at the House of Parliament, the government's representative the way we partake, we vote for them and represent we there. If they want to do anything concerning the country, for change or rather add anything for the constitution, they need for come to the last village, na Salone. For men they can tell the people and say, we now be sent we follow represent at this house. But they want to do one or two changes at this house, we need for come tell you now.
I believe the government has not been fair to the ordinary citizens here in Kambia. Many of us do not fully understand the current constitutional review process, and there has been limited civic education on the provisions of the amendment bill. Unless information is clearly shared, people in Kambia remain largely uninformed about what is happening. From a broader perspective, I also believe the 1991 Constitution grants the President extensive powers, including wide authority over political appointments. This makes it even more important for citizens to be properly informed and actively involved. Civic education on the constitutional review process is essential, and the people must be meaningfully included in it.
Government rights for amend the constitution, but it depends if they communicate with the layman in the sense, we wouldn't at the provinces, we wouldn't at the village here, we get rights for partake, because they will communicate with we, like call the councillors them, gonna the last side and at the government, where we able to communicate.
First of all, we are not aware of this constitutional review process. We believe that it is our right to know more about the clauses in the new constitutional amendment bill. It is also important to know about the entire review process to the least village in Kambia district. We thank you very much for reaching out to us, and our concern is, if there is a constitutional review process, it must be people-centered. The will of the people is very important in Sierra Leone's democratic landscape.
Not everybody know about constitution even.
We don't know a lot about this new constitutional amendment bill, especially the clauses. We expect more civic education on the entire constitutional review process. Our voices are very important in the entire process, and we believe the people of Kambia and other districts should not be isolated in such a meaningful democratic process. The government should start a national conversation on this entire constitutional amendment bill.
For some citizens here, the debate unfolding in the nation's capital feels distant, almost like a whisper lost in the depth of a forest. While political discussions continue at the national level, civic awareness of the constitutional reform process appears limited among ordinary residents of this historic border town. Beyond the political rhetoric, critics argue that the proposed amendment bill leaves fundamental issues unresolved, particularly the concentration of executive authority within the presidency. For Jibril Gotor, an investigative journalist and civil society activist in Kambia, the proposed reforms fall short of addressing the core challenges of democratic accountability. According to him, the amendment bill appears to preserve significant executive powers, including the president's role in appointing the electoral commissioner. In his view, meaningful democratic reforms require a system in which citizens themselves play a greater role in determining key national leadership positions.
Government in, government out, we've been seeing the kind of power, so much of powers given to the president. And that has not been so beneficial to Sierra Leone because in our governments in Sierra Leone, we have our political parties' interest so much than the public interest. So, I mean, if I won an election, after the election, I have people I have to say thank you to. And eventually, if I have that power, I definitely have to give them the thanks. So that kind of excessive power on our presidents, past and current, for me, I don't see that too much helpful. You know, he who calls the piper dictates the tune. You know, if I am the one that has the power to elect a committee to appoint somebody else, definitely I will appoint people that will listen to me and people that will go with my own dictate. So that is just the same. For me, let's just leave it the way it was, than changing it. We don't see any impact it will create or change it will create. Based on our experience in elections, specifically the 2023 elections, you know, there had been so much of hue and cry, you know, considering the role played by the commissioners, you know, the appointments. Eventually, we saw a committee set up, you know, to look at the entire election process. And the main problem here was the commissioner. And if it's the commissioner, the president has power to select a committee to also appoint a commissioner. I mean, it's just the same. If I want to be frank to myself and my country.
Komrabai Alusain Kamara, Secretary General of the Civil Society Movement in Kambia District, shares a similar concern. From the perspective of civil society organizations, he notes, the sweeping executive powers of the presidency remain largely intact, almost as though they were treated as a sacred altar within the proposed reforms. For many in Kambia's civic community, the scale of justice still appears weighed down by unresolved constitutional questions.
Yeah, a constitutional amendment or review is a right approach moving fast forward, simply because before now, from the 1978 Constitution under Momo, it was subjected to a committee, and that Constitutional Review Commission led us to the 1991 Constitution. There are certain clauses that give chance to one-party state by then was later now expunged to multi-party state with the coming of the 1991 Constitution. So therefore, to us as civil society, we look at the approach to be in the right direction, simply because it can help in most cases to modify some doubts, some clauses that are not, some archaic clauses, some clauses that needs to be amended so that it can be more inclusive than before. We are looking at the holistic point of view in the whole constitution aspect of the Sierra Leone Constitution of 1991. But for the mere fact that it comes from the legal perspective, see to it that it is of essence getting some of those few selected areas to be debated and to be amended so far in the Sierra Leone Constitution. even though there are more to be done based on certain critical school of thought that they need to be doing more in order to amend some areas or some clauses within the Sierra Leone Constitution, rather than only focusing to few priorities, and also has to do with, of course, sacking of the vice president, and also has to do with the PR system, recommendation of the electoral systems to be doing. Also the extension of the presidential term, based on whether it is war or it is also a breakdown, or an outbreak of public health emergency. For us, from the civil society perspective, I believe to it that it has some amount of conditional clauses that we also feel to it that for ensuring independence of certain state institutions that has to perform critical functions must have to be taken out of that kind of the supreme highest body of the office of the land, which is the president. Because yes, forming that committee and also the committee constitutes the president being part of it, to us, we can see to it that it can create a room for also having the fear of the highest office of the land. Not to create room for suspicion, to create a room free of suspicion, and also ensuring that independence of functions on people who are given certain tasks to perform in the state. Therefore, we want to look at it from the civil society perspective, that it should be an independent body that should be looking at the appointment of the electoral committee.
Civil society representatives also highlight concerns regarding judicial independence. They argue that the proposed amendment do little to alter the constitutional provisions that allow the president to appoint judges of the superior courts, albeit the parliamentary approval or through tribunal processes. For these advocates, genuine constitutional reforms would require the establishment of a truly independent mechanism responsible for appointing the Chief Justice and other senior members of the judiciary.
I need a law that will guide me through in getting the people's interest. For example, let there be another system. Instead of the president appoints judges, let there be a system for judges to be appointed. But if the Attorney General doesn't touch that area, then probably he has his own reason. But the judiciary, many people are saying, has lose, lots of good things that the people, are talking about. It's common. When you go to a local court, for example, local court is part of the judiciary. Some of the courts you get people fined, for example, 100 leones. Some courts you get people fined 25 leon, 50 leon. To the magistrate courts also they have their own challenges as well. So if they did not touch that aspect, probably the AG has his own reason. If the president has, the vice president has a reason for him to be sacked, let there be a system that would be inclusive of the people.
Let there be a referendum?
A referendum, exactly. A referendum is more preferable. Let the people make the decision in that line. Parliamentarians, they have this power to say no because of this, and they doesn't reflect the will of the people, the general masses. Please, let's go back to the drawing board. We are expecting that kind of thing because, like what you were saying, the many gray areas people are discussing at the moment, they have to go before Parliament. So we are expecting our parliamentarians to actually do what is expected of the people.
The call for constitutional change in Sierra Leone is not new. It has echoed across decades of political debate. But as the current amendment process unfolds, one pressing question lingers. Does the administration of President Julius Maada Bio have sufficient time within its tenure to undertake a comprehensive constitutional transformation? Or will the sweeping executive powers embedded within Act No. 6 of 1991 Constitution remain largely untouched? For the people of Kambia, and indeed many citizens across Sierra Leone, the answer may determine whether justice becomes a shared national ideal or merely a distant promise.